Pinehurst is pleased to be joined by the 2010 U.S. Open champion, Graeme McDowell. Welcome back to Pinehurst, Mr. McDowell. What'd you think out there? You got your look at the restored Pinehurst No. 2, harkening back to what Donald Ross intended this golf course to be. You're coming off 18. What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. It was, first and foremost, it was very difficult. You know, great to be back here at Pinehurst. 2005 was my first major championship cut I ever made. So good memories here at Pinehurst, but you know, it's a very different looking golf course from what I remember in 05. You know, obviously we're here with the Boys and Girls Club of America today, you know, supporting a great cause and, you know, sneaking in a little US Open practice run. So, you know, the restoration's amazing. You know, I just love the way the sight lines, the way everything frames up now, you know, the Bermuda grass, the Bermuda rough. Didn't really kind of frame the golf course up the way this new sand and native area, you know, fairway and native area, the way just standing on tee boxes and seeing the edges and really feeling some of these fairways. It's a great test of golf. You know, it feels like I'm in the Sandbelt in Melbourne. It feels like I'm at Kingston Heath sometimes, and then sometimes I feel like I'm in Pine Valley, and then other times I feel like I'm at Royal Lytham. You know, it's such a mixture of so many great looks and feels. It's very unique. It really does feel more like a British Open than a US Open around the greens, but this is going to be a great test of golf. I really believe that if the wind was to blow here and the conditions were firm and fast, you know, I'd certainly take level par and sit in the clubhouse. That's a fact. I might take 5 over par and sit in the clubhouse. I really believe it's that tough, and you really have to control your golf ball around here.
Yeah, you touched on it again. It's a U.S. Open with no rough. It's this native area, this wiregrass, the sandscape. It's going to be a different U.S. Open than anything we've ever seen before. How is that going to play differently than U.S. Opens in the past?
Like you say, I mean, U.S. Open, you think U.S. Open, you think heavy rough. But I mean, you know, in the modern day, that's not what it's all about. You know, you don't want to stereotype the U.S. Open into being something the same year in, year out. You know, the US Open to me is about going to America's iconic golf courses, and Pinehurst No. 2 is one of America's most iconic golf courses, and especially now that it's gone back to Donald Ross's original architecture, original look and feel. You know, it's exciting, and yes, it's going to be a US Open with which we're not familiar. It's going to feel a little bit more like a British Open at times, but you know what? You know, we don't have to stereotype the US Open into you know, narrow 20-yard wide fairways and heavy rough and small greens. You know, it can be a Pinehurst No. 2. I think the players are going to love it, and I think the fans are going to love it. And I think it's going to be a great US Open.
What makes this place special to you? What is special about Pinehurst to you? We follow you on Twitter. We interact a little bit on Twitter. Obviously, this place hits home with you. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, to me, Pinehurst is kind of golfing mecca. You know, it's you're coming to a part of America which is steeped in history. You know, the East Coast. You know, with all the sort of early settlers, and you know, it's got a touch of Ireland. It's got a touch of Scotland. It's got a little touch of home up here, you know, and it's kind of like going back in time a little bit, you know, and obviously golf is in the blood in this part of the world, and that's kind of where I grew up. Golf was in the blood in Portrush in Northern Ireland, so I guess I do feel like there's a piece of home here, and I mean, the golf courses are spectacular, the hospitality is spectacular, and it's just a fun place to be.
Last thing, what would it mean to you to have your name on the walls of the clubhouse in Pinehurst, to say that you've won the US Open at Pinehurst?
I mean, you know, I'm not fussy. I don't really mind where I win my next major championship, but you know, my first one was very special, to win the US Open at Pebble Beach. To follow that up, you know, Pebble Beach being iconic, Pinehurst No. 2 being iconic, to follow my first US Open up with a US Open win here, be a bit special. There's going to be a lot of players who have something to say about that, and I'm going to have to play extremely well. But you know, having seen the golf course today, I like the way it sets up for me. Yes, it is long, but it'll be firm and fast. It's linksy around the greens, which I think I like. You got to pace putt well here, which I like, and you got to be very accurate off the tee. So I love the way this sets up for me. It's a different US Open for sure, but it's going to be a fun one.
Sounds good. Best of luck to you. Graeme McDowell, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you out here in a couple of weeks, and anytime you want to drop by again, we'll be happy to have you.
Someday we'll see you in a couple of weeks.